I'd like to call a work session order for April 13th, 2026. City Clerk, please read the roll call.
Let the record reflect that all members are present. And Councilwoman Gillis, can you confirm you can hear us?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have one item on the agenda tonight. I would like to remind council that staff will be pausing every so often to answer any question. The item is to receive an all update on the traffic operations and road safety action plan. Please introduce yourself. Whoever's going to kick us off.
Mayor, and thank you very much, and members of the council. Just wanted to, before I turn it over to our panel here, I wanted to just introduce the topic a little bit. We'd heard from a number of you on a couple different issues. We know that traffic is one of the most important issues facing our constituents and our residents and businesses, and we're going to be talking about that tonight. Some of the concerns that were brought up was some of the traffic-related issues around the city that we're seeing as we face unprecedented growth. The other one is, as we've also embarked on developing a road safety action plan. I know we've talked on a number of occasions with council about that plan, but we know that one of the big pieces of that is being able to get public input and feedback on that. So we're going to cover some of the ways in which the public can interact with that plan and be able to provide feedback that is actually very easy. So we're going to give a little bit of demonstration of that. Before you got multiple departments who are going to be talking to you from our police department, from our engineering department, and from our development services department. There are a number of departments who are involved in traffic related issues, but these are the three that deal with it most closely. And so we have Chief Issett up here, Steve Cinto, our engineering director, and Katie Wilkin, our development services director. And so the way we've structured the presentation is really more of a conversation. So we have a number of topics that we're talking about. We're going to pause at each one if there's feedback or questions or discussions that you'd like to have. We're going to have that opportunity as well. Thankfully, we only have one item on the agenda, so we have some time to be able to talk about it. So I'm going to turn it over to Steve, who's going to kick us off.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Keeney. So good evening, Mayor and Council. Again, Steve Cinto, City Engineer. And as Keeney mentioned, Chief Brian Issett and DSD Director Katie Wilkin are here with me tonight. And we're going to be updating you on many aspects of our traffic operation around the city, and as another touch point for council discussion and on the public engagement aspect of the Road Safety Action Plan. So we've got a pretty packed agenda tonight. As Keeney mentioned, we'll be going through multiple areas. So first, I will talk about traffic cameras, what types of cameras we use in the city and what we use them for. Then I'll cover our traffic counts, what they are and how we use them. Traffic signals will be next. I'll go over detection types, signal timing, and some of the factors that impact our traffic management in the city. Then I'll hand it off to Chief, who will cover traffic enforcement. And then we'll hand it over to Katie, who will cover construction permitting and temporary traffic control in the city. And then finally, I'll wrap it up with the touch point on a road safety action plan. And as Keeney mentioned, there'll be multiple points and this evening for council discussion in between all the major areas and at the end of the presentation. All right, so to get us started off, I'll start with the types of cameras in the city. So there are two main types of cameras in the city that we use for traffic signals. They're both mounted on the signal poles, and one's a detection camera, and the second one's a point tilt zoom or PTZ camera. So just to be clear, neither of these camera types are license plate readers, nor are they speeding ticket cameras. They're for traffic management. So detection cameras are on the top right of the screen there. They're fixed, live stream, and not recorded, and they're used for vehicle detection only. While our PTZ cameras on the bottom left, they're both live streamed and recorded, and they're for viewing the right-of-way in real time and monitoring the traffic in the city. Now, some of council may recall that council adopted a traffic camera recording policy back in October of 2024, so it's been a little while. This policy governs the access, use, and retention of the video footage we record from the PTZ cameras. So access is restricted to authorized engineering personnel only and can be provided to the police department upon request. The uses are restricted to traffic operations and PD investigations, and they can be used to help us find issues with traffic, go back and review it, as well as review traffic accidents after the fact. As a side note, cameras and the footage will be available to the Real-Time Crime Center once that's up and running.
Just quick question. I think you answered it, but you can also, with those cameras, go back and review like an accident to see the cause of the accident, that type of thing with that camera?
Mayor, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And finally, the retention schedule, which gets into that. It's governed by the state retention, ASRS, and the minimums for this type of footage are 14 days. Unless police department pulls it, then it moves to a different retention schedule, which is dependent on the case type, could be up to 99 years depending on the crime. So for traffic-related incidents, 14 days, we'd want to make sure we can look at that within that time frame. And so one final item worth noting, one of the major advantages of having recordings is that we can go back again and investigate the traffic incidents and better determine what happened. So if you see something or hear something from someone or have questions or specific concerns, you can let us know in the engineering department and we can go back and take a look within that 14-day window.
Hold on, I got a question.
I want to just ask a question before we move on to the next slide. So you said that the PTZ cameras do record information and it's made available for accidents, but is it made available to the public in case of they're dealing with an accident with their insurance company?
Mayor, Councilmember Kano, yes, they are available via public records request
Very
within that window.
Thank you.
Did you say you had
Absolutely.
something?
Thanks, Mayor. Steve, with traffic cameras, I wanted to get a little bit to the genesis of them. Do you know how long either the vehicle detection cameras or the PTZ cameras that we have had traffic cameras here in the city of Goodyear? My assumption is this is not a new technology. I've been seeing traffic camera on the morning news reports since when I was a little kid. So I assume this is not new technology. This is just very similar to what we've always had. Is that correct?
Councilmember Terry, absolutely. I believe we started installing these in the city about 20 years ago.
About 20 years. So we've had these for at least 20 years. And you mentioned license plate readers, which capture just a license plate into just kind of a, a broad description of a vehicle. What can these cameras, what can a PTZ camera see?
They can see pretty much anything in real time. So it's a closed circuit TV camera.
Yeah. So basically, from my point of view, these are cameras we've had for 20 years or so, these types of cameras, more than that. Some cities have had them decades longer than that. And they can see a heck of a lot more than some of those other very specific tools. I did want to check, you had mentioned the real-time crime center. With these PTZ cameras, technology changes over time. Once this is up by the end of the year, I assume our dispatch operator in the real-time crime center, or operators in the real-time crime center, will be able to have access to these cameras. Is that correct?
That's the intent. I don't know all the details myself, but the intent is that they'll be able to access the cameras and move them themselves.
I think that's vital for the efficiency of a real-time crime center. If there's an issue or, for example, say Litchfield and McDowell, there's a brawl in the parking lot of McDonald's. As soon as it calls in, we actually have eyes on within 20 seconds of that call, or something that is happening within view of the right-of-way, within the public right-of-way, which, legally, that's fully covered. Just to be able to have that access, to be able to turn the camera to catch, like if there's a assault or, hey, somebody was just kidnapped and taken into a red car or something like that, being able to pick that up. I know when Chief gave his strategic plan, it's something I think I remember Councilwoman Kano saying it. I've said it. If you commit a violent crime here in Goodyear, we will catch you and we will prosecute you. And I want to make sure that that's always the case. And this is just one more tool to that front. But when it comes to the technology, do we have cameras that are in need of updating? Or I know, City Manager, you are well experienced with the City of Phoenix and their traffic systems. They have many more intersections than we do. I don't know if this is for either City Manager or Steve, but to make sure that all of our intersections are updated with the proper technology. Are we already there? I know, we're building a lot of intersections each year in our budget. So I wanted to make sure that we are pretty much already there, or do we need to invest more in these systems?
Great question, Councilmember Terry. So I think the answer to that is, first of all, they are in our engineering design standards, so every new intersection that comes on board already has these up there. Every other intersection in the city does have these cameras. As they hit their life cycle, then we replace them under asset management plan. So essentially every active intersection in the city does have these cameras.
Okay, that's good to know. And then last one, sorry for springing this upon you, to the city attorney. We mentioned how we have city policy that regulates operation, recording of the traffic camera footage. What does state law require, or that you're initially aware of? To my knowledge, it's pretty broad as far as, you know, your public record. Is there anything
In terms of what the public.
of what we must provide, how long we must retain this data, how long, what can it be used for, what can it be used for?
So the state law.
Turn your-
Hang on, let's, yep.
You have a short one?
Is this on? Correct?
Yep.
The state law requires a 14-day retention if it's just for, not for investigatory purposes, but if it's just regulatory, like you just retain it. But I think Steve mentioned that, you know, for instance, if you see an accident, somebody, you know, we filed an accident report, we've cited someone, we would keep it longer based on the need. But, you know, your general purpose where it's just recording as a matter of course, it's just 14 days. And there was some thought that we would keep it for a less amount of time because we didn't need it. It requires a lot of storage. We did request that the state archivist who sets the retention schedule maybe look at that and reduce it because, you know, we have so much and, you know, so much of it's not needed, but we were shot down pretty hard. So as a normal course, 14 days, if you do see, like you were seeing a mugging or something, it becomes evidence in a criminal case, it'll be pulled out, it will be retained for as long as you have that case and it becomes evidence in the case. There is nothing at this point that talks about how you can use this information, who can access. We have, as a city, have adopted policies that talk about what we want it used for and have limited, but it's not mandated by state law. So, and then our policy for certain information is we try to protect, even under a public records request, access to information that, you know, people could use for stalking, you know, to find patterns of
We
people.
redact license plates and things like that, don't we?
Yeah, or we actually just blur it out, you know, because the intent of the public records law is to show what government's doing with their money and, you know, with taxpayers' money, so they know what we're doing. Well, individual license plate, that doesn't mean, they don't need to know what license plate to know that we're monitoring, that we have monitoring devices. So we've been pretty lucky. Nobody's really challenged us on it, but we do try to protect that information. And I think that our policies are also geared so that this information is not misused.
No, I think it's incredibly important to protect that information, to not just give that out. Those privacy protections are there. But from what it sounds like is that the state is rather broad, leaving it to the cities to determine these specific policies on what it can and can, or they're at least not specific.
At this
on it.
point, yes, my understanding is that there's a lot of movement down at the legislature and there's
Okay.
bills trying to regulate it. But at this point, we don't have those regulations that limit how you can use it or what you have to.
Okay, no, that's good to know. So whereas state law currently is broad, we've adopted policies that are much more strict and defined and specific to what it can be used for and what it can't be used for. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Wally?
My question's simple. Steve, did I understand you correctly that you said all of our intersections have some type of a camera?
Absolutely.
And what is the purpose of the vehicle detention camera and what does it actually do?
The vehicle detection camera, thank you, Councilmember Campbell. The vehicle detection camera does essentially what it sounds like. It can detect cameras as they approach the intersection.
Does it do anything though?
It does help control how the traffic signals function.
Okay. It can, but it doesn't necessarily do that at all intersections, correct?
It's used in all intersections. I'll get into a little later, maybe some of the inner workings of the different types of signal control, but it is used at all intersections in the city that have a traffic signal.
Okay, thank you.
Benita?
Well, it sounds like if there was an accident, that retention would be longer. Is that kind of how it generally works?
Councilmember Beckles, if the police department does pull it for an accident related, it then is retained for as long as they need it.
So have you ever had anybody, this is just a crazy question, have you ever had anybody who came back, it wasn't an accident, nothing happened, have you ever had anybody come back and ask for a camera footage for something after the 14 days and it was gone?
To the best of my knowledge, I'm not sure. I do not know the answer to that right now. We could find out though.
Thank you.
We're good? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes. All right. Moving along to traffic counts. So what are traffic counts? So they're basically what they sound like. We count traffic volume, speed, and travel time data in the city. And how do we collect that data? Well, we collect it in two main ways. One is using road tubes or pneumatic tubes. Those are those little boxes with tubes across the roadway, similar to what you see in a couple of the pictures there. And they work literally by counting puffs of air as they're created as vehicle tires roll over the tubes. And then they analyze the counts and determine the average traffic volume and speed from that data. So with the current level of growth in the city, we typically collect this data every year or two based on the type of roadway. We actually just wrapped up the latest counts for 2026, so it's possible that you may have seen some of these in the city very recently. The second main way we collect data is through ITS equipment called roadside units or RSUs, similar to that little router device on the screen there. And they can detect smart devices in cars wirelessly and provide us with travel time and speed collection data. And as you'd imagine, this data is collected continuously and it's also completely anonymous. So what do we use this data for, or what do we use the counts for? So traffic data collected from the road tubes, it's most often used to plan new roadway projects, intersection improvements, including traffic signals. And we also make this available to the public and their engineers, development community. It sometimes aids in their development-related studies and transactions. Traffic data collected from the RSUs, that's primarily used for intelligent signal timing applications and determining how well traffic flows down a corridor in the city. And can also be used to inform infrastructure projects in supplement to the other traffic counts that I mentioned. And before I move on, just to kind of cover what we have recently done here, I've got some statistics. So the 2026 traffic counts, we had it counted at about 240 locations around the city. It's a 24-hour count, including volume and speed. The data collection started in about January, went through February. We paused for spring training because that's an anomaly, right? And then we picked that up and finished basically last week. And we'll probably have the analysis done by June. So that'll be uploaded to the website once we have that completed for the latest study. All right, moving on to traffic signals. So let's start with vehicle detection. So there's two main types of detection we use in the city. One we've been using the longest, and that's video, as we previously discussed a little bit ago. And it's currently installed at all the intersections with traffic signals in the city. The second detection type is radar. And some of you may recall, we piloted this a few years ago at Cotton and Yuma. It performed very well, and we're now deploying it all over the city. They complement each other, as video provides a good visual and is good for short distances up to about 150 feet, and radar can detect much further, up to 400 feet or more, and it can also distinguish different types of vehicles better than the video. Adding the radar component, it does allow the intersections to take even more advantage of some of the new technologies regarding safety and traffic management, so it's been a big upgrade. So moving on to signal.
Hold on 1 second there. Those lines where those cars are, does it make a difference if they're not coming to the specific zone where they're picking that up as far as messing up the actual signaling or whatever? Because I know they're designed there for something. It picks up where your car is sitting. Those lines mean something. Can you explain that?
Absolutely, Mayor. So those lines they're essentially a detection box. So when a vehicle is within one of those green boxes, the camera detects it and then tells the controller, hey, we've got a vehicle in this box. So if they're outside of there, kind of in the area between the green boxes, then it doesn't pick that up. And then further back, it'll pick those vehicles up as they approach the intersection.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just want to remember, go ahead.
I find that it picks up right turns a lot, and I don't know if that's anything that can be fine-tuned, that somebody will pull up to make a right turn and it switches to accommodate it, but does it have any ability to discern right turns from everybody else?
Councilmember Kano, yes. So most of the signals intersections in the city have a delay on the right turn. So if it detects one, then it won't trip and it'll give it enough time to go through. If you do see that behavior somewhere, let us know, because it could be that there's one or two out there that. Okay, yeah, please let us know. We can review that.
Mayor, and Councilmember Kano, if I may, I know one change we did make in the last few years is if it's a dedicated right turn lane like the one in the picture there is actually a delay, meaning that it needs to detect a vehicle for 10 seconds before it'll actually potentially impact the phasing. Yeah, neighborhood.
Go ahead.
Okay, so to dive a little more into the signal operating types. So I mentioned, we've got a couple different detection. Both of those can be used for the first signal type. We have, I guess, back up. There's two main operating types in the city, right? One is fully actuated, and the second is coordinated. So think of fully actuated as the intersection is programmed to react to vehicles as they arrive. So these work best where vehicles arrive at an intersection at random, and it's the default configuration for all of our intersections around the city. So I've got an example for you. You can see the picture up there, something close to home right out front here at 150th Drive and Goodyear Way. So if after the council meeting, you leave City Hall on Goodyear Way and you want to make a left to go north on 150th, you'll pull up to the signal, stop in the left lane. The camera detects you as it sees you in one of those green detection boxes up there. And at the earliest time it can, it'll stop traffic on 150th, and then it'll give you a green arrow that allows you to make that northbound turn and go through the intersection. Then once it no longer detects a vehicle in one of those boxes on 150th, it'll switch the green back to 150th. That in fully actuated mode, essentially, we're still going to prioritize, or it'll favor the street with the most volume, which in this case is 150th, and that's where you'll have your resting green. So it should rest on 150th and then be actuated from somebody coming up on a side street.
Got a question?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just quickly on the vehicle detection, public safety vehicles, do they have the ability at all to influence the traffic signals at all? And can you, or Chief or the Deputy Fire Chief speak to that, how that's possible, how it's used, and any guardrails that we may have on that?
Mayor, Councilmember Terry, I can start and then pass it off to Chief. All the intersections do have a preemption device that it does allow authorized vehicles to preempt the signal and change it green so that they can get through to where they're needed.
Is there a timing on that? Because, if you have a signal quickly changing, obviously they need to get somewhere for a reason. But if you change a signal, like a signal turns green, and then within 2 seconds it's back to red, like that could cause some issues. What is the timing like on that as well?
Spoiler alert, I had that further along in the presentation. You're absolutely right. While obviously it's intended for the use of our public safety so they can get to where they need to be, it does impact signal timing, especially in certain instances, which then can take some while to recover.
Mayor Pizzillo, Council Member Terry. So the each patrol car was called an Opticom, So the officer can activate that device. It's basically like it sounds like a taser, but it looks like a strobe. That hits the preemption component of the traffic light, and that's what changes the cycle. So our officers are supposed to only use that on active priority 1 calls for service and priority 2 calls if they need to get to the scene urgently. So I know the fire department also has the same device on their equipment as well.
And I assume it's the same process with that, okay. Nods are good there. All right, thank you, Mayor.
Can I ask a question
Oh,
here?
wait a minute, go ahead.
Is this where we ask a question about a specific traffic signal?
Councilmember Campbell, absolutely.
All right,
And
coming out of Civic Square and hanging a left and going all the way down to Cambridge and Bullard, why is there not a there is a camera there, but it does not change the light until probably 6 to 9 cars are in the left-hand turn lane.
that's a
And
great,
I've talked to you about this for months and months and months, and I just want to bring to your attention, all of the townhouses and apartments are now full in the 2 areas. People are cutting through from Pebble Creek Parkway on that thoroughfare to get to Bullard to hang a right to get on the freeway. So I just wonder if it's not reading correctly or if the camera isn't working correctly. But it's the same story every day. Doesn't matter what time of the day or night, doesn't matter if it's a Saturday or a Sunday, where there's no traffic on Bullard whatsoever, it still will not change.
Councilmember Campbell, that's a great question. And, we can certainly go back and look at that again. I will be covering it. That signal operates a little different. It's in coordinated mode, and that's probably why you're experiencing what you're experiencing. And I'll cover the times of day and whatnot and the days of the week. So I believe that's probably why you're experiencing what you're experiencing, but we can definitely
Yeah,
go
it
back and
was
take a look at
covered
it.
for a long time with the burlap until all of the apartments finished building, and then they finished all the units up by actually City Hall. So there's a tremendous amount of traffic. Plus, there's a little park there as well. So maybe you need to take a look at that one.
Certainly, we can re-review it.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Moving on to coordinated
You got another
signals.
question?
So I'll talk a little bit about the second main way that we have signals programmed in the city. So think of coordinated as actuated signals, but with the benefit of utilizing data to prioritize volume and direction on a roadway corridor. So signals are timed so that vehicles traveling a certain speed can hit consecutive green lights, sometimes called a green wave, as you can kind of visualize it. So we use offsets or time differences between the signals to manage progression through the intersection. And you can see that little animation kind of shows you the greens are offset, right? So if you start in the beginning, you should get to the next intersection with the green, the next one, the next one, the next one, and have that green wave. That's the idea. So these work best where the vehicle groups are expected to move down a corridor in a more predictable way, say during rush hour going towards I-10, just an example. And designed to maximize their green time as they move through that corridor. So ultimately, coordination is about trade-offs though. It's to maximize efficiency for the most vehicles. So if you're traveling down the corridor, you can anticipate more green signals and smoother travel. But if you're arriving from side streets, I think similar likely to the situation that Councilmember Campbell mentioned, you can anticipate longer wait times for greens. So I've got an example up there on the screen of Bullard and Estrella as one of the areas that's under coordination. So if I'm traveling south on Bullard to get to Estrella Mountain Ranch, and I hit that intersection and I stop in the left lane again, if there hasn't been a car waiting there already, or if it turned red recently, I can expect I may wait up to 2 minutes to make that left. And then, usually 2 minutes is the longest we'll wait. Usually it's shorter than that. But if the circumstances are correct to prioritize Estrella and coordinate Estrella, I may wait up to 2 minutes to make a left turn on there. So one final note about coordination, currently we operate coordinated corridors between 6 a.m. and 8:30 p.m. 7 days a week. So outside of those hours, they all revert back to fully actuated, but within those hours, you'll experience a similar, you'll have a similar experience all across the coordinated corridors in the city. And I want to cover one more type. I know I said we use 2 types in the city. There's actually a third one that we're piloting, and it's called adaptive or dynamic signal control. We have a strategic plan item for fiscal year 26, so we'll be back, engineering will be back in June to fully brief council, but I did want to mention we're piloting this in several areas, and essentially it's where the signals talk to each other and interact with each other to make small adjustments to better handle traffic flow in real time. So we're hopeful for some promising results, but we'll be back in June to discuss at a work session.
Questions? Vicky, do you have anything you want to add right now?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, so just to wrap up the signal section, we have a team of professionals that works hard to balance the many factors involved with managing traffic flow in the city. And in general, when we're utilizing our technology, they can keep things flowing as efficiently as possible. But along those lines, I did want to touch on some of a few of the factors at least that we have to deal with and mitigate that do impact the traffic flow in the city. So the first of those is population and land use changes. So with new development, tenant improvements, business changes even, I mean, it can change the dynamic, and depending on how large the change is, it can significantly impact traffic flow at intersections or on roadways in the city. The second is ongoing construction, and this really happens in 2 main ways, right? First is large construction sites. Think your data centers, think your major industrial. They can have an influx of many cars, workers with cars and trucks while it's being constructed, sometimes during interesting hours during the day. And it's temporary, that gets built and then they move on. And then it turns into the permanent, as I discussed with the, land use change. The second construction-related traffic impact has to do with temporary traffic control. Katie's going to talk a little bit more about that. But essentially, if there's roadway widening, utility relocations, even sometimes maintenance in the city, you'll see that temporary traffic control, which can significantly change how traffic patterns work during that period of time. The next one is pretty intuitive, but I-10 regional traffic impacts. If I-10's closed or even restricted during peak times, a lot of that traffic ends up on our arterials. Think your, McDowell, your Van Buren, but in very, extreme situations, it can have repercussions throughout the entire city. And then finally, as was brought up previously, signal preemptions. Again, obviously we want our first responders to have top priority as intended, but it does impact signal timing. And for the coordinated corridors, it can take up to 5 cycles or more to get back to the normal program. And so again, just a snapshot into some of the complexities that staff deals with when managing the traffic network in the city.
I've got a question for you. Buc-ee's. Is there a way to manually control, or there be officers out there, for example, if they see stuff backing up on 10 or backing up to get off of Bullard to get into Buc-ee's, or on, Lifeway, that cancer treatment centers, to move things along, if they have to speed it up a little bit, slow it down? Because not an engineer, but my gut tells me that's going to be some interesting challenges, especially for the first few weeks when it opens. Now, the good news is it's summertime, so that means there's less people coming to Arizona because the heat be pretty substantial. But at the same token, I'm hoping we have some fallback plan to mitigate traffic and how you're going to move it in and out whenever that opens.
Mayor, I'll take the first shot, and then Chief can step in too. We are already coordinating on it. We have 2 ways. Like you mentioned, officers can control from the intersection, from the boxes, but we also can control remotely from the TMC. So we'll have folks monitoring actively, and we'll be coordinating and doing the best job we can to keep things moving. And as much as you're absolutely right, you don't have to be an engineer to know that it's going to be a lot of traffic when that opens. So,
Okay, Chief.
I was only going to add that in the worst case scenario, our officers are obviously going to be prepared to get out there and actually direct
Move the
traffic
through.
to keep it moving. So
Okay.
we're in the preparation for the grand opening.
And for the city manager, if the 50-foot beaver starts to be an attraction, it may even add more to people coming here to the city, so. Thank you, I appreciate that. Anybody have any, what we got? Oh,
I've
Go
got
ahead,
it. Okay.
go ahead, and then we'll work it.
Okay, Steve, how much does one traffic signal cost?
Great question, Councilmember Campbell. It varies, but generally I'd say maybe 1.1 million.
It used to be 495,000 for each signal, and I complained then that we need to stop using those signals and get another brown signal somewhere, because that's such an exorbitant amount of money to spend on a traffic light that really, I don't know if it works better or less than the plain ones, like everyone else has. So, is there any discussion at all to cut down those costs?
And great question, Councilmember Campbell. And I believe, so going back a little while, there was a discussion around this, and the city engineer at the time, the city changed the standards and the engineering design standards and allows certain areas of the city to have the ADOT look,
Yes,
which
I
is
remember
those,
that.
as you may recall,
Yes.
not the large modular, but the thinner circular poles. However, because of the installation costs and the steel, there's really less than 10% difference in cost, all said and done. But of course, the areas that they're supposed to be ADOT moving forward, we've been constructing, and the development community has been constructing. And then in the other areas that have modular, we add modular so it doesn't, aesthetically, it doesn't look displeasing as you go down the roadway. You can see a similar.
I don't think people really even notice what they are, Steve. They look for a red or a green light. That's it. They don't care if it's pink, purple, or yellow. It's just that all of ours happen to be brown, just like Tempe. So, but I just want us to be very much aware of how expensive these are, and if maybe we need to think that if we're gonna put lights in, the developer pays for those, not us, all the time, because that's an exorbitant amount of money. Is that, if it's $1 million for 2 or 1 signal?
It's for the full
The whole
intersection.
box for that
Yes,
whole intersection.
Exactly.
It's a lot of money.
And just to touch on one of the things you brought up, the development community does pay for their impact, whether it's a quarter of the signal or that's part of the regular
Good.
standard of development.
Good.
So they
Okay.
do pay their share.
Good, thank you.
Who was it over here that had one? Go ahead, Laura. Go ahead, yeah. Benita, you.
Rock, paper, scissors. You mentioned for Buc-ee's the collaboration between PD and the traffic center, which is good. And I feel like we had this discussion about spring training not too long ago because we weren't doing that before. It was, I think, just one, maybe just PD operating. Is that kind of the new norm now, to have the two departments work collaboratively to look at traffic more holistically?
I would say yes, I believe so.
Okay, that sounds ambiguous.
I mean, that is our approach. It just depends on the
Okay,
situation.
so for big events like
For
spring
large events,
training
yeah.
or big events, things like that, that it's not just the officer on the ground looking around, it's somebody's also in the center taking a larger view.
Mhm.
Okay, because I think that's really important. Regarding the look of the traffic signals, it's interesting that there's similarity in costs. And I think for our major thoroughfares where we do have that consistent look, I would recommend just keeping that consistent look. I think most everything is up already, but the few intersections that aren't. But I see that it makes sense. We did make that adjustment, but we do have those major thoroughfares, and I support a consistent look.
Go Benita, then you,
Yeah,
Brandon.
what's the staffing in the traffic management center?
Councilmember Beckles, there are, we have our city traffic engineer, assistant city traffic engineer. We've got about 6 to 7, depending on the time, operations staff that maintain all of our equipment. And we have an ITS analyst, and we're hiring an operator. So I'd add all those together around 10 to 11.
do they have set hours or,
So, good question. They do have set hours, but there's always an on-call schedule too for call-ins.
like for Buc-ee's, so we gonna add hours?
Correct, right. And we have multiple tools available to us: overtime, call-out pay, things of that nature.
Thank you.
Brandon?
Yeah, I was just gonna mention also about Buc-ee's too, that it's gonna be like a spring training almost every day, and it's gonna be maybe like a NASCAR every week potentially. So I don't know if you should treat it something like that kind of event. I hate to have an officer there, paying an officer there for every single day in 12-hour shift, but I don't know, whatever that's gonna look like in the future. Yeah, with 120 degrees out there, but I don't wanna use that as mitigating strategy, but if there's some way that we can try to help that, because if it is truly gonna be 100,000 people a week, that's a lot of traffic. And looking at how they're fixing it right now, I mean, it's still like a 1 lane to like a 3 lane kind of off, like on to get on the on ramp or off ramp. I mean, I don't think it's going to be enough. But I know we can't have the money to go restructure and have ADOT. I know we talked to DC and we talked to all our Congress people and all our senators about the need for help with those kind of things too. And it's not going to be fast, but I just want us to think about that as it's going to be our tourist attraction for quite a while, I think, as well. That's my first question. So,
Mayor and Vice Mayor Hampton, I think the one thing about the Buc-ee's opening, we probably alluded to a little bit, is we have some ongoing multi-department preparation meetings going on right now to prepare for the June 22nd opening. And some of that is related specifically to public safety and transportation. So we have Chief and Steve and a number of team members who are looking at this. I would say on opening day, what I would envision is you'd have police presence out there to be able to respond on the fly to what we're going to be seeing as we experience this. But to the point of both you and Councilmember Beckles is, as we deal with this days after or weeks after that, it is likely more efficient for us to have a controller in the TMC to be able to adjust signal timing on the fly rather than have somebody necessarily out there running the manual gun from the box.
yeah, it would be better to use our cameras that we just talked about and just doing it from there. But I think has to be someone doing it. I think just because we don't know, it's a change daily. We don't know the patterns, traffic patterns, all that kind of stuff yet.
And to add to what Keeney mentioned, just a couple levels further, you mentioned some of the improvements that are going on. When Buc-ee's came in, we had a traffic impact analysis, and they had some requirements based on that. But like we've alluded to, it's a unique situation here. We don't really know exactly what it's going to look like until they're here, right? So we're also preparing, brought an engineer back on that helped us augment that study. And we're going to have them go out and monitor and then readjust and see what it looks like long term, what those recommendations are. And in addition to that, we have a strategic plan item for fiscal year 27 and we've requested that funding in the CIP to do design concept reports for Bullard and I-10 and Litchfield and I-10 interchanges. So we're definitely full court pressing it to try and prepare and look to the future.
Okay, and then the other point was, I know we brought up traffic signals. I mean, I would like to see us have at least our borders of, I guess, Avondale and Litchfield Park and Buckeye to have those traffic signals maybe look nicer, bigger, say very clearly, distinctly that you've now entered Goodyear, whatever that looks like for us. And the internal ones would be the normal traffic signals with like the small Goodyear symbol on it. I don't know what that looks like in the future. I know, like when you cross into Avondale, you're in Avondale because you cross a checkered flag. We don't have anything that really distinguishes us except that I think we're cleaner and nicer looking. But I don't know, but there's nothing that really defines that you're now in Goodyear for the most part. So I'd be okay looking at options for that. I don't know what that looks like. I've seen other cities have like little mountains on their traffic signals, like Paradise Valley or someone has. There's just different things out there that I've seen. So I know they're expensive because I remember when Dalkey was talking about a new signal, and he's like, I don't know, we can get the $700 one or the $400,000 one. So yeah, I know everything's gone up, but it is what it is. We got a budget for them and make it happen. So, but that's my thought of, I'd like to, at least when you enter Goodyear, that might be one way to notify people that you're in Goodyear. So
appreciate the feedback.
Okay,
Can I just say
Yeah.
one thing? I know you're preparing, but people camp out the night before. The one in Dallas, we had 12,000 people. 12,000. That didn't include anyone getting off of the freeway that were just there, ready for that door to open at 6 o'clock in the morning. So while you're saying June 22nd, do the 21st as well. Yeah. Well, I don't know that they're gonna have a ribbon cutting. I heard they weren't, so I don't know.
okay. All right, go on.
All right, with that, I'm gonna hand it over to Chief, who can walk through the enforcement part.
All right, topic that's near and dear to my heart, traffic enforcement. So I'm going to share some stats with you tonight that I received from our traffic bureau. So just for your own edification and understanding, everybody in our department on patrol is expected to conduct traffic enforcement when they're not busy, otherwise with other calls for service. So, however, we do have a traffic bureau that's specifically dedicated to our high-profile traffic complaints and then other enforcement throughout the city. So, go ahead. Our traffic stops from 2024 to 2025, they dipped a little bit, but go to the next one. But our traffic-related citations increased. So, we went up by 23.4%, and a little bit later, I'll share a little bit more of a breakdown with what we were citing with. But, this is the old, rear view mirror test. Every time you see a police car, I don't know, I'm sure you guys are like me because I do the same thing. The first thing I do is look at my speedometer, and I'm like, okay, I'm going the speed limit. That's good news. But to the point, our officers are afforded discretion. So the whole point of a traffic stop and traffic enforcement is either education through a warning or education through a citation. So go ahead. This is promising. So, since I've been doing law enforcement over the past 25 years now in Arizona, the three main contributing factors during that time has been for collisions or accidents has been DUI or driving impaired, speed, or distracted driving. Distracted driving has obviously increased with the inception of the cell phone, but those consistently have been the three main causal factors for any type of traffic collisions. Our DUIs, as you can see, between 2024 and 2025 have trended downward. I can tell you that's not for lack of effort. Our officers are out there. We consistently rank high above other agencies with the Governor Office of Highway Safety for doing DUI enforcement. So when I see that kind of decrease, I really do believe that we are seeing lesser DUIs out on the street, which is good news. Next. So our civil speed citation, and go to the next one, Steve. Our civil speed citations, you can see they're up, but the good news is our criminal speed citations are down. So again, what this is telling me is that we're focusing on the right things. With the criminal speed citations going down by almost 30.9%, that tells me that the enforcement efforts are, and probably more also the presence of having more officers on the street is slowing people down so they're not going the crazy speeds of 21 miles per hour or over. But we still are seeing people speeding. So we've still got work to do, but overall, I think seeing the almost 31% decrease in the criminal speed is a really great sign. And then lastly, the hands-free citations. So this year we've really made an effort to focus our efforts on distracted driving, hence why you see an increase there to almost 24%. Other areas that, with the 11,000 plus traffic-related citations. So of the civil and criminal speed, that equated for about 24% of the citations that were issued. Our hands-free accounted for about 8.5% almost. Here's almost 9%. We had 540 citations for people with no driver's license. We had a little over 4%, 478 citations for people with suspended driver's license. So between the two, that equated for almost 9% of tickets for people that really shouldn't have been driving at all because they either weren't licensed or their driving license was suspended. Their privileges were suspended.
Quick question, Chief, which I guess is good news. Go back one more slide there. Which is good news. It looks like the criminal speeding has dropped significantly. Any idea why, or are the officers getting, tagging them with more civil speeding?
Yeah,
citations?
so Mayor Pizzilla, I really do believe a couple factors in there. Number one, we have more officers out on the street, so there's greater presence.
Okay.
Again, going back to what I said a second ago, you see a police car, it's just instinct. The first thing you do, you look at your speedometer, and hopefully you're driving the speed limit. The second thing is, I really do believe that our enforcement education efforts have been, we've been consistent with that, and I do believe that, there's obviously people that we have given citations for criminal speeding. They're probably not doing that any longer, and so that also has a causal effect as well.
Okay.
Like I said, we're still seeing the civil speed citations, but those are much less than the 20 miles per hour.
Well, that's good to hear.
or-
I like to see that has dropped significantly. Go ahead, Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, you mentioned, how you have more officers. Like, what are numbers related to the patrol increases that we've seen over the last year and a half or so? Because when we hear for the residents, it's like, when are you guys going to tackle this stuff? What are you guys doing to tackle this stuff? Where are we on the numbers for more patrol? And what does that look like per shift, or how many, per any given point in time, how many officers do we have out there, and how many more are we continuously adding?
Great question, Councilman Terry. So when I think I talked about this a little bit in our budget discussion last week, but when I first got here, our patrol model was, we had 52 people on patrol in August 2024, which basically with sick leave and just people out, we were down in the 40s, possibly even the 30s. Right now, with the upcoming, I created a new model when I first got here based off of 64. So those are all fully staffed, and so they are out there. That also includes our what we call gold squads, which is our tactical teams. So they are also out there. They answer calls for service. They are still active, and you can see them, although they are a little difficult because they're in unmarked cars. So the next iteration that we will hit in September, we are increasing the patrol model to 84 officers. So that's basically from the 52 in August of 2024 to the 84 that we will have coming up here in September. That is a 62% increase into the patrol bureau for officers to be out on the street and responding to calls.
Okay, thank you. On the traffic enforcement, earlier we talked about cameras. Do we use traffic cameras or video to enforce civil traffic violations?
That's a great question. If we have, like, for example, a fatality, we'll make a request to engineering to pull the video, and then through that video, we'll also be able to determine, in addition to the reconstruction and accident, what occurred. So we are using that insofar as adding evidence to the case and using the technology that way.
Okay, so it sounds like a major case, but just say for, you know, you mentioned in there, Steve, how the traffic counts can actually measure speed because it can tell the timing it takes to, you know, for wheels to hit one end or the other. Same aspect. Just for speeding purposes, do we in any way, say you don't hit somebody, say you don't do something like that, do we use automated enforcement of these things, or does it require an actual police officer on the ground doing the actual work?
So that is correct. It's the latter. We do it the old-fashioned way.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's
So-
kind of where I wanted to get at, but it is good to know that we have the ability, especially in a larger case, you know, fatality, collision. I think we should be able to determine for evidence reasons what actually happened. So that's good to hear. But unlike, I think it was Phoenix that recently started using photo radar again, we do not do that here in Goodyear, correct?
That is correct. We do not use photo radar enforcement.
And then you mentioned priority locations and times where you deploy extra traffic units. Do we prioritize in any way our schools during school hours?
We do. And so a lot of our enforcement activity is based off of complaints that we get from the community.
That's
So-
one I get a lot.
Yes, yeah, and that is, we do rotate where we put our traffic enforcement folks during school hours. And then obviously if we get any other requests from the community on different locations or intersections, then the officers will also go out and actively work those locations as well.
Okay, and then my last one, we had mentioned speeding, DUI, distracted driving. Another one that, I see out there quite a bit, and I do get complaints, is just kind of the more aggressive, reckless driving. That's probably the hardest to find and enforce, just you have to be in the right place at the right time. Without saying too much, or like what tools, tactics do we have to potentially address that in any way? Because I would say that aggressive driving, or, the potential for, just mild road rage, or hopefully that's all it ever gets to. But on top of, the distracted driving, the DUIs, the speeding, that's probably the other one I hear of the most complaints about. So I didn't know if there's a way we could, that's the hardest, but if there's a way we can pay a little more attention to that as well.
Yeah. With our traffic unit folks, and as I mentioned, some of our other personnel, we do have unmarked cars, and you'd be amazed what people do when you're in an unmarked car and you see them doing things. So we are able, obviously, to do enforcement that way on the aggressive driving type incidents. And also, a lot of times when things like that are happening, the road rage type scenarios, we will get calls for service on that as well. And then, we'll make the stops and then sort it out with the different people involved in the case.
Okay, yeah, it's just amazing what some people will do behind the wheel just for 5 seconds or something. That's all I got, Mayor.
Next. Oh, go ahead.
So, I want to kind of piggyback on what he's saying. When we talk about distracted drivers, or what is an officer seeing when they give out hands-free citations? And are we going to be doing some education to the public to get those numbers going in another direction?
So that's a great question, Councilmember Beckles. And so what an officer is seeing is they're actually seeing the person actively engaging with their phone. So whether that's them texting, whether that's them scrolling through Instagram or social media, they're actually seeing that happen. And so that's when they'll make a traffic stop on a distracted driving or hands-free complaint, or if they're talking on the cell phone instead of using the Bluetooth speaker inside the car. I think part of the road safety action plan, there will be an educational component as well that we'll be discussing. But yes, we're constantly looking for ways to educate our community, either through social media, on the different topics that we're seeing out there.
Okay. Just a funny story, on the Cotton Lane Bridge, sometimes the officers are there just kind of waiting for speeders probably. And so the residents will post on next door where the cops are, and finally people are going, don't tell when the cops are there, let them get caught so they'll slow down. I thought that was great.
That might be a part of the deterrent too, and the speed that we're seeing. So, you know, that's, thank you for sharing.
Go ahead, Laura.
Another aspect of speeding that has come up time and time again is like the road racing or the hot rodding. I know that's been a big issue down by Cantamia, but I can tell you it happens on McDowell quite a bit. And any thoughts or that you want to share on your enforcement and those types of things?
Yes, Council Member Aquino. So there's actually, whenever we get those calls, we're actively sending officers into that area. A lot of times they're pretty compliant, and they'll as soon as we arrive, they'll leave. Generally speaking, usually heading back east towards Phoenix. But you know, the best thing that happens is we get notified early by the community that people are starting to gather. And generally speaking, if we can get that information ahead of time, then we're able to stop it before, you know, they get onto the road and start racing. But we have, you know, in terms of the racing, there we have zero tolerance when it comes to that.
And we have racing that happens that's not organized. It's just spontaneous, I guess, racing. There's a certain profile of cars I've observed that tend to do that more. But yeah, it's just an ongoing thing. And they like to do it at night, it seems, and on the I-10, because I can hear it also there. But all right, well, keep vigilant.
Thank you.
Anything else? Go ahead.
All right, we'll pass it off to Katie.
Oh, wait a minute. Vicky, any questions as we move on to the next piece?
Yeah, I did. I wanted to ask Chief Issett, the street racing, especially on Indian School and up in Cantamia in Astoria Mountain Ranch, has that decreased? Have you seen it, you know, it decrease?
Street racing increased in Indian School and Cantamina.
So, Councilwoman Gillis, we have not seen, to my understanding, we have not seen a tremendous increase in the street racing. We keep a pretty good eye on it from a social media aspect, and our community has been really good about notifying us whenever large gatherings are starting to appear. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, so you have seen it decrease, was my question.
Have you seen a decrease?
I can't say if it's decreased specifically. I think it comes and goes. It's it ebbs and flows. You know, I think in the summertime, that's when we start to see it pick up again, and
Right.
it's very cyclical with the seasons.
Okay, but we're obviously on that. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So all planned work that happens in the right-of-way requires traffic control permits. In calendar year 2025, we issued 1,042 traffic control permits. And that was a steady increase over 2022, where we issued 611. So we've seen about a 15% increase year over year in the traffic control permits. So if you think that there's more construction on the roads, you would be correct. This does include more minor work somebody could close a decel turn lane into a business for a work that business is doing, but of course it goes all the way up to major arterial road closures. It is up to the private development to notify nearby businesses and residents of these closures. One thing to break it down a little bit, about half of the traffic control permits are from private development. Primarily, they're off-site development. Another big portion are from utilities, and that could be telecommunications, power, gas, and also either private or city water, wastewater projects. There are CIP, city projects, and city road work that we do as well. And then finally, there are special events that require traffic control permits. So any of those, it is the private development or private special event or the city, if it is a city project, that does the notification. For major projects, we do have a pre-construction meeting that happens on the site. So our staff and the developer or utility doing the work are on the site together. So at that time, they can just look around and see who needs notification. So here's an example that A-frame sign is one of the telecommunications. They put out A-frame signs at all the neighborhoods they're working in. They do have problems, they get stolen. They do replace them when they can, so sometimes even their notification methods are difficult to keep out there. When they're working in neighborhoods, they also do door hangers on each of the homes before they start the work. Once in a while, we do have a problem where the blue staking happens before the door hangers get out there, and so someone comes home and already sees the blue staking and wonders what's going on. But for the most part, the utilities do have it down on getting that notification out there. We do also make sure all sidewalk, or not all sidewalks, but there is at least one sidewalk open and ADA access is maintained. We also require that resident access to their homes is maintained 24/7. So not even a vehicle should be blocking a driveway at any time. When we review the traffic control permits, we are reviewing the safety, how the barricades and signage is put up, but we do look at conflicts between various potential traffic controls, such as we don't want two arterial roadways adjacent to each other closed or with significant restrictions. We do have moratorium periods, such as the Phoenix Raceway, spring training, the holiday season. We designate those administratively so we can designate the Buc-ee's grand opening period as a special event where we might have additional restrictions on traffic control that can happen in the area to make sure we're doing everything we can to help the success of that project. We also get questions a lot about night work. We do encourage night work, both through our fees and our reviews. However, it is a balance between keeping traffic moving and impact to residents. We have a major upcoming project of the construction of the Loop 303 on Cotton Lane, and there are a lot of neighborhoods in the area. And it's not just noise, but the lights that they use on the construction can be seen a half a mile away. So, as that example, we are balancing that potential impact to residents and how to keep the traffic moving on such a major roadway such as Cotton Lane. So my team is working with Steve's team on a major project such as that. And then, of course, we will include economic development neighborhoods in the notification on such a major project.
You got a question?
Yes, briefly, you mentioned the Cotton Lane in 303. That's gonna uproot a lot of pavement and stuff in that area. What can we expect as far as logistically? ADOT's covering a lot of that, but once it gets down to the ground level, that becomes our problem, kind of. What can residents in that area expect as far as delays go? Is Cotton just going to completely disappear for a point of time, or to our knowledge? I know a lot of this is up to ADOT, or they, get over to Perryville, get over to Saraval or something. What can residents in that area expect?
Thank you, Councilmember Terry. Great question. We do not have all those details yet. Construction isn't expected to start till later this year. I'm not even sure if they've awarded the construction contract. They are doing pre-work right now. You've seen some of the old cotton gin has come down there. So we've been working with the specific contractors on those pre-work items and have already been thinking about this. Once they get further along in the project, what we did with the Loop 303 to the north is we started regular meetings between ADOT and our teams and everyone on our side that needs to be involved, so we can be working through those things. And it sounds like.
And I'll just add to that as well as we're working with our government relations team as well, working with ADOT. They usually have weekly or regular project meetings to be able to work with them on messaging, so we can have consistent messaging going out to our residents, but also know those impacts so we can work on coordinating around those as well.
Okay, thank you.
And then we can.
Go ahead.
And then finally, as part of our notification, we do have a web page on the City of Goodyear website. If you go under our city, there's a traffic restrictions page. But probably more helpful is to utilize the AZ511 tool. So if you go to az511.com, our information as well as other cities in the valley feed into the statewide resource, and you can see the traffic restrictions. So those are updated daily. They automatically come down when a project is complete, so anyone can go in if they're wondering about a project near them or that impacts their route and see the timing information. It's also interesting, you can look around and see how many traffic restrictions our neighbors also have. This is not a Goodyear specific problem to have so much construction going on. It is something that, especially impacting the Southwest Valley with so much construction going on, but definitely has impacts throughout the entire state. Any questions on traffic control?
Go ahead.
I just want to comment on that, Katie. Thank you for bringing it up. It is not just us. Anybody who drives anywhere is running into traffic construction issues, but I think we've come a long way identifying situations where maybe we did two projects at the same time and hindered, and we've gotten a lot better. So I just appreciate all the work that's been done.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may, real quickly, I know Councilmember Beckles asked a question related to the public records request specific to the traffic signal cameras, and our great city clerk, Jasmine, messaged me during the rest of the presentation here that we've had 5 public records requests that have come in outside of the 14-day retention schedule, so there's 5 so far.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, back to me. So just another touch point on the road safety action plan. So as council, may recall from our work session last month and our one-on-ones late last year, we're right in the thick of things with this plan, and we also have an upcoming work session in May to talk about what strategies to include. But again, just some quick background. In 2024, the city received a Safe Streets and Roads for All grant, or SS4A. And it was to develop a road safety action plan, or RSAP, and implement a demonstration project. So high level, the road safety action plan is intended to give the city some data-driven guidance and practical options to improve transportation safety in the city. And more specifically, the RSAP will establish a comprehensive strategy to reduce roadway fatalities and serious injuries across the community. And like I mentioned, included in that is a demonstration project, which many of you have likely seen. It's that green paint pilot that we're doing in the bicycle lanes around the city. So in addition to providing, an opportunity for council discussion on the topic this evening, it's also an opportunity to emphasize the importance of the public engagement portion of the study. So we've had pretty good success with the online surveys, but unfortunately, we've only had about 18, maybe 20 people use the comment map that we've got the QR code up there for. So that's where you can literally drop a pin on a map and let us know exactly what you've experienced or an idea for improvement you have at the location. This is a tool that can really complement the data analysis that we're doing. Because it can give us anecdotal examples of near misses, something that may not be picked up in the data, or really just what the public is experiencing as they travel around the city. So just to round out the traffic discussion, I'm gonna play a quick video for council and the public that Tammy's team in digital communications nicely put together to encourage even more public engagement.
The Goodyear Road Safety Action Plan is underway and your input is needed. This comment map is for residents to pinpoint where safety improvements are needed most. Your feedback helps the city combine your experiences with data to shape projects focused on making our streets safer. Here's how you can share a road safety concern, issue, or suggestion in just a few steps. Step 1. Go to GoodyearSafeStreets.com and click the comment map in the top left corner. Step 2. Click the blue Explore button to exit out of the pop-up tutorial screen. Scroll down and click the blue Enter a Comment button in the lower left corner. Step 3. Choose what type of comment you'd like to share. Project ideas, bike or pedestrian safety, crash concerns, or general improvement needs. Then select a specific area on the map or search for an address. Fill out the short form describing your concern or idea, then hit Submit. That's all it takes to help guide strategies for safer streets in Goodyear.
It's pretty intuitive, pretty easy to follow.
And just a nice video. They did a great job with that to kind of spread awareness.
Nice job.
So I'll just quickly go over what's next for us. As I mentioned, next month, engineering will be back with another RSAP work session to talk to council and about what strategies to include in it. And then the following month, engineering will be back to discuss our strategic plan item for TMC optimization. Like I mentioned, that's really focused on the adaptive or dynamic signal timing. And then finally, multiple departments have a fiscal year 27 strat plan item to reduce speeding. So we'll be working on that and likely be back with a touch point on that as well. And that concludes our update to council for the evening, and we're here for your feedback and any additional questions.
Anything?
All right, thank you, Mayor. On that map or on that feedback, what is kind of the process that then that item would take? Say, you know, there have been times where I've brought up potential needs or I've heard complaints from people about maybe a crosswalk or a traffic signal somewhere, or once we get that sort of information, what is that next step? I know a little bit of that process, you know, specifically whether it's around some of our schools. I've heard from either parents or school administration about safety concerns of either walking and crosswalk needs or an intersection where left turns are dangerous. Can you speak a little bit to the logistics of what happens next once somebody submits that?
Mayor, Councilmember Terry, appreciate the question. I think I do not have our consultant here this evening, but I can tell you high level what I believe it'll look like. So, like I said, we're doing analysis. They're analyzing a lot of data through this. If you put a comment on there, it's more anecdotal, and so we'll collect all of those and then kind of talk about the strategies that we want to approach some of the improvements or the education with, and filter it through that. And so all said and done, it'll end up integrated somehow into the final road safety action plan, which could have a myriad of recommendations that the city can then potentially take action on.
Unfortunately, it's not a very quick process. Is that correct?
Yes, I've been, depending on...
Barring like an emergent situation where it's obviously clear, like something needs to happen before people get killed.
Correct. If there's something like that, then that obviously would be more immediate action. But this is planned out, weighing it versus all the options, and then we'll have an opportunity to kind of use it as an ongoing roadmap.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Oh, go ahead.
Mayor, if I build, and Councilmember Terry, if I may build on that, my experience with these tools, with comment maps, is twofold. Kind of as what Steve described is one is to be able to inform what we put together as overarching strategies for the road safety action plan that ultimately be strategies that council will adopt. The second part is that anecdotal piece. So anecdotal information and input that we receive is definitely turned over to the engineering department or whatever department might be responsible for that, and they can do some additional investigation on that outside of the road safety action plan development. So if there is something like urgent or emergent or something that we need to take care of, address now, that's something that Steve and his team can definitely take a look at. And I know we've had conversations about things where we've gone and talked with principals at schools to be able to talk about what the situations they're seeing when it comes to school safety related issues. And so that would be how we handle it. One is in the road safety action plan and over the arching plans and how we look at strategies for the road safety aspect. The other one is actually those on the ground kind of issues and how do we deal with those.
Yes?
I would encourage getting that QR code out more. I did it, I just filled one out right now, and it was easy to do. But I think rather than going to the website and looking for it, the QR code makes it readily available.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So is it your intention to implement the road safety plan once it's adopted? And when do you anticipate submitting the plan to the feds?
Councilmember Campbell, great question. Currently we plan on coming back later this year, by the end of the year, for adoption, for council adoption. And then from there, there's a myriad of things we can do. We can look at working together with the departments, the educational component, and then we can look at programming, requesting funding, potentially for future grants, and then also local standard changes, and then local funding for capital projects and supplemental projects. So kind of a myriad of things.
Well, you understand the grant that you got was just to design something, and now you go back and ask for the money, and I'm not sure it's gonna be available in 27. It's been 2 years since we got this grant. Almost coming up 2 years. We got it in 24.
If there's money available, we absolutely will be putting in for
Yeah, and it may not be
follow-up.
if we keep dilly-dallying around. I know it takes a long time to do these plans, but we really need to focus on trying to bring closure sooner than later if we are gonna ask for federal funds, because this is still from the old regime, the money coming in that has not been spent. But once it's not been spent, they're not going to allocate it. So I'm just worried that we're gonna miss that threshold.
And to your point,
So,
Councilmember Campbell, we plan on getting this approved later this year so we can meet that next window
okay.
if it's available.
I'll find out, I'll try to find out next week if there's any talk about closure so that we know. I know they're asking for applications right now. I've gotten several emails asking, are we putting ours in? And I keep saying, no, we're not ready. But, you know, if we're really serious about doing this and we want to get the federal funds, it's there. But we just need to get everything together and then we get the money to implement the plan because we now are designing it. And when you talk to the public, are you going out to all the bike shops and are you going to the car shows and are we reaching everyone that we can possibly reach? Has it gone out to the neighborhoods? Because everybody uses our roadways one way or the other and they may have a better suggestion for us.
A great question, and definitely PR is a large part of it, public engagement. I can get you a more comprehensive answer on that when we have our consultant with us, but I know they've been to our bike shops. I know we've had open houses, and there's been a pretty robust campaign for social media to try and get this out there to get as much feedback as possible.
Yeah, well, Councilmember Kano suggested you get the survey out quicker. Send them to the neighborhoods.
Thank you for
And we have a list, I'm sure, somewhere of auto clubs. We have a Corvette club in Pebble Creek that's got 400 and something members. Not that, you know, it's just, but these folks use the roadway as well. And I'm trying to get us the biggest thing because we don't have a gathering place to say, okay, come today, we're gonna talk about road safety and everybody give us your opinion. So we're trying to just reach who we can reach, but there's plenty of car shows, there's plenty of car clubs, you know, that we could ask as well. And if we're hitting the bicycle clubs, that's the main roadway people are cars and bicycles.
Absolutely. Thanks for the feedback. And I know we're trying to cast the widest net possible
Yeah.
to get as much involvement as possible. It's possible some of those that you mentioned, I'm just not aware of, but I know we've really cast a wide net. We'll continue to. So thank you for the
Okay,
suggestions.
yeah, okay, thanks.
Vicky, any comments?
No, everything's been asked and answered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is that it?
That's it.
That's it? All right, next meeting will be April 27th. No further business. This one's over.
We don't have anything, a week, 2 weeks?